Since the early 1900s, the world has been captivated by the flicker of moving pictures and the stars that bring these stories to life. Movies became the heart and soul of the American identity, and today millions of people flock to these iconic streets paved with history. However, there is a story you haven't heard. For the original peoples of this land, the screen has crafted and ingrained a destructive image in the minds of the audience. The true Native voice in cinema has been absent.
As a Native person, I don't feel like I've ever really been accurately represented on screen.
I was really concerned for my kids and for all the generations coming up that, you know, they don't see themselves anywhere.
When I was a kid, the representations just weren't there. And I remember strongly latching on to anything that did show Native people.
Growing up with depictions of the Hollywood Indian forces Native youth to question their identities. With a plethora of stereotypes, but no real substance, film characters offer no real representation.
It's the same thing as when you look at these caricatures, or you look at these westerns, or you look at these people who are depicted as not being intelligent and barely being able to speak. It does the same thing. We're like, well, is that what I am then?
One of the big killers of Natives is, I mean, just to put it frankly, is suicide. And I think that one of the things that leads to Natives feeling depressed and feeling like they have low self-esteem is that people don't really know a lot about us and don't seem to care about us, so it makes us feel invisible, not wanted, and not cared about.
But for a short period in film history, things were different. One of the earliest films made featuring Native Americans is an 1894 16-second silent film depicting the Sioux Buffalo Dance. And in the following few decades, the silent era shined a glimmer of hope for Native representation on screen. Films like Daughter of the Dawn and The Silent Enemy featured an all-Native cast. But with the aftermath of the Great Depression, audiences needed an American icon and hero. John Wayne, in collaboration with John Ford, brought about the popularity of the Western genre to the American public.
It's just really a dark part of history as far as the entertainment industry goes.
I feel like John Wayne and John Ford were hugely impactful in propagating Native stereotypes.
Savages! That's my wife, Yakima, my squaw. Yes, but she's savage.
And again, it's like that iron cage is already rolling. That's what people think. And so from there, you start to create this narrative that we should be imprisoned, we should be killed, we should be scalped, because what are we doing here? We don't know how to live. We're primitive. We're savages.
Anytime that you create a movie that villainizes an entire ethnic group, you know, I'm just going to say it, you're a bad person.
And I don't think that any issue, any villain is black and white. I think just showing something as bad it's not whole storytelling.
Incorrect and incomplete storytelling was a large aspect of nearly every Western of the time, cementing the numerous stereotypes associated with Native Americans.
Just to go down a short list, we are always stoic.
It's always the warrior, the medicine man.
When we talk, you can hear flute music playing.
The savage and the mystic.
A lot of people believe we died out, we no longer exist. That's a stereotype that oftentimes people think about Natives.
And it was so narrow and such a shallow look at what it meant to be Native that these images, they were storytelling devices more than representations of nuanced, complex human beings.
And many cultures of these nuanced human beings were painted down to be identifiable, quite literally.
A common problem with Native American portrayal in media is that Hollywood wants to tell Native stories, but they don't want to cast Native actors to play Natives in those stories. There was a tendency to cast white actors and literally just paint them down, paint their faces so that they looked more brown, red, what have you.
But it didn't just happen sometimes. It was all the time. Every well-known actor of the day put on a long wig, darkened their skin, put on their war paint, and stuck a feather in their hair.
That's something that continues to this day with Taylor Lautner in Twilight, Johnny Depp as Tonto in The Lone Ranger.
So many movies throughout history have had poor representation. It's easier to pick out the ones where things have changed.
I think when I would see things like Westerns or cartoons, like Peter Pan, or even things like Indian in the Cupboard, or later movies that tried to depict Native people, like, I just felt cringy inside, and it made me feel embarrassed to be that, because I knew that I wasn't that, and I knew that my family wasn't that, and my people weren't that.
As far as bad representation goes, I mean, recently Adam Sandler's Ridiculous Six. Pocahontas is another example of bad Native representation.
Know what I can do, still I know I've got to try. Now we make them pay. Eagle help my feet to fly.
Just about any Western movie where the natives are the villain has bad Native representation.
I mean, almost 100 years of film history has, stereotypical representation of Native people.
I think that there is an attitude in the entertainment industry of, oh, we always did this, so presumably it's okay to keep doing this.
And so that, to me, is directly connected to red face, and it's directly connected to mascots and caricatures, because you're creating those things so people still to this day continue to see you as something that's not real, that's not contemporary, that's not important, that's not valid.
Look where we're at because of the damage, because of that damage. I mean, it's like taking all of us to work together to change that.
Starting in the 1970s, a wave of change in the Native narrative was set in motion. Out from it emerged positive Native characters.
In the 1970s, we saw the appearance of a few really great Native characters, namely Billy Jack.
On this reservation, I am the law. So I'll tell you this just once. Have your men drop their guns and you can leave quietly.
He was essentially like a crime fighter that knew Kung Fu.
Really?
You that Indian son of a bitch.
I don't know how old I was, but I remember being on the set and watching them film, and I just loved it.
I knew he'd find us.
There are comedians and writers that I still talk to that are Native that say yeah, Billy Jack, he's the guy. And that's something that I want to see. I want to see less, painted up stereotypes in John Wayne movies, and I want to see more Billy Jacks.
Also emerging from the 70s for the first time was a spotlight on Native talent and their work. In 1971, Chief Dan George became the first ever Native American to be nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Little Big
Makes
Man.
my heart sad. A world without human beings has no center to it.
Go where, grandfather?
To the mountain. To the top.
One thing about Chief Dan George, he had a twinkle in his eye, and the camera caught that. He was such an inspiration to me for many reasons, for his life work outside of the industry and in the industry.
1 year after his Oscar nomination, another Native voice shook up the industry at the 45th Academy Awards.
Accepting the award for Marlon Brando and The Godfather, Miss Shasheen Littlefeather.
Shasheen Littlefeather's speech at the Oscars, I think, was one of the first times that Native issues were really brought into American homes.
I think the moment at the Oscars really did start changing the dialogue.
I adore Shasheen. I love her.
I'm representing Marlon Brando this evening, and he has asked me to tell you in a very long speech, which I cannot share with you presently because of time, but I will be glad to share with the press afterwards, that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award. And the reasons for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry. Excuse me.
If you listen to the start of it, you can hear the audience booing when she mentions that Marlon Brando asked her to speak about the treatment of natives in the film industry, which, a couple things on that. So, did the people that booed Sacheen Littlefeather saying that natives weren't treated well in movies think that they were treated well? If so, what?
And I'm sure when she did that, she wasn't so full aware of the backlash that was going to happen.
By the early 1990s and 2000s, the independent indigenous film movement was in full force, and for the first time, realistic Native American images and voices were being seen. Powell Highway laid the foundation for this movement.
I got important shit coming down.
Where you guys going?
Yeah, but we don't have time to fuck around.
Nobody grabs me no more. This is no Awus, buddy. The most sacred place in America. Maybe the world. We are gathering power.
I starred in Powwow Highway with so many great actors.
We'll all go home together, okay? For now, I want you two to take care of each other and stay close. And no fighting, okay?
And that was the first feature film that broke open that door for our narrative.
Smoke Signals was released in 1998 and quickly became the Native film.
Good morning, this is Randy Pion on KREZ Radio. That's KREZ Radio, the voice of the Coeur d'Alene Indian Reservation. And Coeur d'Alene people, our reservation is beautiful this morning. It's a good day to be indigenous.
My mom, to her, when Smoke Signals came out, that was a big deal.
You saw natives eating fry bread and joking with their friends like they were human beings and not talking stoically in the distance while flute music played.
I think Smoke Signals is everybody's go-to because you can tell that it was Native made through and through, and you can feel it. And so it exists in the dialogue and the humor and just the little choices that are made.
Traffic ban broken down at the crossroads since 1972. So Lester, how's traffic out there this fine morning?
A couple of cars went by earlier. You know old Mrs. Joe? She was speeding. And Kimmy and James, they went by in a yellow car and they were arguing. Ain't no traffic, really.
It's probably the first time that I've ever felt like my experience growing up had been accurately portrayed on screen. We were seeing well-rounded Native characters that lived on reservations and were clearly passionate about their culture, but they weren't chained to it.
And even if other people didn't understand it, it was the first time we were like, oh my gosh, like this is finally like our comedy.
Hey, Victor. I'm sorry about your dad. How'd you hear about it? I heard it on the wind. I heard it from the birds. I felt it in the sunlight. And your mom was just in here crying.
And just the idea that you could have Native filmmakers, Native cast, Native crew all working together on the project. Yeah, it was like a light bulb going off that like, wow, we can be involved on all sides of this. And there's something valuable in what I have to say also.
This confidence has inspired today's small but growing network of Indigenous films and the actors that give them life. For Native filmmakers, it is important to highlight their favorites.
My favorite movie of all time is Boy by Taika Waititi.
Kia ora, my name is Boy, and welcome to my interesting world.
I grew up loving Graham Greene.
Oh, look up here, got a welfare check for you. Hey.
I love Zon McLaren's work.
I remember you.
Eugene Brave Rock is like, I love that guy, he's great.
Okay, Itaniku, Napi.
I like Martin Sensmeyer.
Why did she say what? She just said what?
I feel like Adam Beach is a shining star who will only brings happiness to everything he touches. I don't know.
Will Sampson.
Gil Birmingham.
But today it was.
And I really like Devery Jacobs.
Here we are, all of us. Damn.
He was different, like me, two-spirited. I totally support all Native actors and actresses.
The supportiveness within the Native storytellers' communities has fostered a drive to create change and representation through their own works. They accept the responsibility of taking on this issue and proudly devote their art and their lives to changing the narrative.
I have a short film that's going through film festivals right now.
Telling people you're Native American when you're not Native is a lot like telling a bear you're a bear when you're not a bear. If you wear the traditional clothing of a bear when telling a bear that you are also a bear, you'll get mauled by that bear.
The point of that movie is to basically like showcase a lot of like weird microaggressions that non-natives make toward natives.
I'm writing a sitcom about a mixed race family in suburban America that speaks to my own experience with a Native mother and a white dad, and those cultural conflicts.
With my short film, you know, it's this character who is riding around in a car who's experiencing things that we're talking about, where people are like don't know anything about you or saying ignorant things to you.
So I've never seen a name like that before. How do I say it?
Tazbah.
Tazbah.
There aren't a ton of us in Hollywood, but there are dozens of us who are here, who are making it, and who are doing things.
The stories you haven't heard about are slowly being told through the authentic voices meant to tell them. They are occupying spaces that belong to them and decolonizing and indigenizing the screen, one story at a time. They are undoing 100 years of stereotypes and harmful representations. The true Native voices are starting to echo. It is a reclamation of not only the land, but of the art and power of storytelling that runs through Native veins. It is the beginning of the end of the Hollywood Indian. Why is it important that you are telling stories as a Native person?
Because it's my purpose. It's my life. It's who I am as a Native woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a sister, as an auntie. It's my birthright to be a storyteller. It's what we do. We've done this forever. We've been doing this forever. Before there was a camera. This is our way.